Hello, everyone. Claire Wasserman here. Welcome, founder and author of Ladies Get Paid. We are an educational platform, global community, and book all about helping women earn more and live better. If you've been following along, you know I love to talk to other women who also share our mission, but maybe go after it in a bit of a different way. And we certainly have a different kind of guest today that I'm jazzed about. Lindsey Julian is here. We are going to be talking about basically building a brand, a breakthrough brand for your small business. So this is a conversation that is good for anybody who has ever had the itch, the entrepreneurial itch, right? You want to work for yourself. Maybe you're not right now, right? Maybe you're full-time elsewhere, or hey, maybe you did take the leap and you're doing your own thing, but you got limited resources, you got limited bandwidth. What are the tools that you need? And we'll probably talk about internal tools, right? As well as some maybe external tools of really positioning yourself to just stand out and stand strong. I'm going to give a brief bio for Lindsey, our guest here, but she knows herself best, so I will hand the mic over to her. Lindsey is a little bit recent to her own entrepreneurial journey, because prior to starting her own company, in which she's a brand and marketing strategist, she climbed the corporate ladder at companies where she led multi-million-dollar rebrands, created global marketing campaigns. And in her own words, she said to me that she thought she had it all figured out, but what she actually had was a bad case of burnout. So what pulled on her heartstrings was helping small businesses with limited resources, and smaller budgets become seen, heard, and known. And so now she works with clients to coach them through a proven blueprint for building a breakthrough brand. And that is what we are here to discuss today. Lindsey, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Let's talk a little bit about your own journey, because I think it seems that everything that you teach your clients, you had to first learn yourself and learn the hard way, as many of us do. So yeah, this experience of, oh my gosh, I thought I had it figured out, maybe I don't. What was that like for you?
Yeah, so I spent over a decade in corporate, started off on the agency side, then moved over in-house at Samsung, and then my final stage was at a startup. I always had this entrepreneurial spirit as a little girl, but did take the decade-long corporate detour, and I'm fortunate for that. I met amazing, talented colleagues, built an incredible network, and got to work on those campaigns like you mentioned. But somewhere along the way, it was definitely starting to take a toll on my mental health. And I was feeling like I was at a place where I had reached kind of an unrecognizable version of myself. And I was seeking so much external validation for everything that I did. I wanted the next promotion. I wanted the next compensation increase, that I felt like I was losing sight of my values and my core beliefs as a human. And so it really changed in 2021. At the end of 2021, I had two pretty significant losses in my life that reframed my perspective of the meaning of what I wanted to accomplish in my days. And so really my intention was simply to take a break from corporate. I actually had no intention on becoming an entrepreneur. So my goal was to take 90 days off, and then from there I would kind of determine what I wanted to do next. And I was thinking of going into like the nonprofit sector. But yeah, I put in my resignation. I didn't have a plan. I just had a purpose for a more meaningful life, and then was sitting on a beach, and it led me to this idea to take my skills and my experience and really apply that to smaller businesses that are up against constraints like limited resources and budgets, and really help provide them with like the Fortune 50 level marketing support that I had been doing for a decade, and help teach them that proven blueprint and those strategies.
It's interesting that you said forgive me if I'm misusing your words, but like you didn't sort of imagine yourself as an entrepreneur, but you also said that when you were younger, you had the itch.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I had no intention on like starting my own company or anything like that, but I've always loved working with entrepreneurs. I feel inspired by them and founders and their stories. And yeah, it was just like me sitting on a beach by myself with some self-reflection and learned, okay, I think I have what it takes. Like, why don't I go set out and try this and give it a go?
Yeah. Before we get into that blueprint of building a breakthrough brand, especially when you have limited resources, anything within those 90 days or on that beach that you did or asked yourself that can be helpful for other folks who might be in the same boat of like, I know what I don't want. I know that I'm burnt out, that what I was just doing and how I was doing it was not sustainable, to really navigating towards a direction of purpose. I mean, it's obviously a much longer, intense conversation to have, but if you have some just prompts for folks to get started in that work, I think that would be really helpful.
Yeah. The question that comes to mind that I was consistently asking myself because I was in this state of burnout and struggling with mental health was, how do I want to feel each day? So it was less about what do I want to do.
Right.
I kind of let serendipity uncover that for me, and I just chased how I wanted to feel when I woke up in the morning and what I wanted to experience in the work that I was doing, rather than like what was the work itself. And that's what kind of started, it's just continued to uncover itself throughout this journey. I wouldn't say I have it all figured out right now. I'm only a year and a half in, but I think chasing the feeling was what was most impactful for me of how I wanted my days to look.
Love it. Love it. So I know that you've talked about something that you do with your clients is you have this like blueprint, right, for building a breakthrough brand. And by the way, the alliterations are like over here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what are the elements that go into this blueprint?
Yeah. So first, I think like breaking down the word brand is really important because it is often tossed around these days, like personal brand. And so I think providing like my definition first and foremost of what I believe a brand to be. So I focus really on like the heartbeat of the brand. So your brand is really like every interaction that your customers or clients have with you and the way that you leave them feeling, the way that they're talking about you when you're not around, and like the word of mouth advocacy that they're spreading, right? But the core essence of your brand is really your vision, the big picture of what you're trying to achieve. And this kind of goes back to what I was just saying, like that's not the what you do and who you're serving. This is like really why you're doing what you're doing and where you're headed with it. So think long term. And then we get into the mission, which is like the strategy that supports the vision, right? So that gets to who you're serving, what you're doing, how you're doing it. Then you get into the values, like what do you represent? What do you stand for? So there's a lot more positioning, like how do you want to leave people feeling? What top of mind do you want to come to them when they think of your brand? So that's really where I zero in on first and foremost, and getting to clarity on who you serve. And I think one thing that's really important as a takeaway is when it comes to a target audience and you're building out your messaging, people often ask, like, what problem do you solve? But the way that I break that down when I'm thinking about target audience is there's two problems you're solving. There's the external problem that your audience is searching for, right? So that's like where your SEO and your keywords come into play. But the other problem is the internal problem. Like, how are they actually feeling? And that's where you bring to life in your core messaging the language that you're using and speak to this internal feeling that they're up against to get them to purchase or attach to your brand. And often I think that's where marketers or sales stops is at the external problem, but you got to take it one level deeper to really, really, truly connect with your customers and your clients.
Oh yeah. That for anyone who feels like, what do I have to say that is like the imposter syndrome of like, why me?
Yes.
Is there any brand out there that is currently speaking to you? And if the answer is no, chances are your voice is there to, well, not chances are, your voice needs to fill that void, but chances are there's other people who also feel the same way you do and have been waiting for somebody to speak their language, right? Like ladies get paid, other women's groups exist. I didn't feel like anyone was speaking my language, the words that I would use, how I would use it. And that is all related to emotion, how we feel. I would love for everything you just said. There's so much great stuff there to break down. Stories. Do you have like whether it's your own work that you were doing for your brand or with clients? If you have some examples you could illustrate of when you gave them this prompt, how they worked through figuring out the answers, and then what came of it.
Yeah, so the first thing, I'll just kind of walk through like a specific case study without revealing the client itself. But the first thing I do with my clients is a deep dive into a discovery phase. And I have a list of about like 30 to 50 questions. And we start at the highest level of like, tell me about what you do in 30 seconds or less. And I'm just recording them and I'm typing, everything that they're coming up with. And then we pull into like the competition. Because oftentimes when my clients come to me, they're overthinking or coming to a place of self-doubt of like, oh, this has already been done before. Like I have to come up with something totally original. And it's like, no, don't let the competition deter you from putting your work out there and shipping it. Like let it guide you to fill in the gaps. So we always focus on the competition. And then we dive into that target audience like we were talking about. And then we get to my personal favorite, which is like the brand questions of uncovering things like, tell me about your brand in 3 adjectives as to what your brand is and what it is not, because what your brand is not is just as important as what it is. So an example there might be like, we're confident, but we're not cheeky, right? So coming up with things like that. And then from there, that's when I start to hear their stories of like, why they're doing what they're doing and uncovering. So I'll give a specific example of a client. So they're a consulting agency and they are 2 multicultural women founders. And their mission is to educate and elevate multicultural women in the workplace by training leaders at all levels to have a culture of sponsorship. And so they came to me and like, they had everything up inside their heads of what they wanted to accomplish. But really where I come in is like the story that you're telling yourself, I just kind of put like a finesse to it, a polish to it, and bring clarity to the story and put pen to paper. And so really the way in which we do that is by going through that discovery phase. And then that's where I could kind of guide them through like, you have this amazing story right here, like right in front of us based upon your experience and your expertise. And I just help them see that, guiding them through that.
Yeah. Yeah. Feels similar to the work that I do as a career coach. Like we're all too close to ourselves.
Yes.
So much self-doubt and judgment as a mode of self-protection, but you need really somebody at a bird's eye, somebody who comes in who is not so intimately involved to be able to find your blinders. Do people struggle? Well, actually, the better question is, where do you find folks struggle the most if you've seen a pattern? I was going to ask originally though, do they struggle when they have to be so concise when you say pick like the 3 adjectives?
And that's okay. So where they struggle when they come to me, they're often feeling overwhelmed with marketing. Like they don't know where to start. And again, these are clients that are up against limited resources and budgets, but they have a willingness to learn. And they're still very hands-on with their business, right? Because I'm working with people that have like teams of 10 or less. And sometimes it's just the founders I'm working with. So they're coming at a place where they're overwhelmed. The marketing is disorganized. They're feeling like they haven't tapped that full like connection with their customers to truly build that coveted like know, like, and trust factor. And when it comes to writing or their brand messaging, they just feel like their words are all over the place and they just don't really know how to put it together into these succinct, crisp sentences that will convey what is so powerful about their story. So that's typically where they're struggling when they come to me, and then walking them through that proven blueprint is where we start to bring to light like all the answers are already within you. Again, I'm just kind of holding up that mirror and copy editing so that it sounds better, right?
Yeah. Is there, so let's talk actually about limited resources, limited bandwidth. This might be a very personal question for folks to ask themselves, but maybe you can give them some guidance on how to ask. How do you know where, like, how to know where and how to allocate resources, basically, when you're in those early stages, and what role marketing plays? Like, do you need to have your product, quote, done or perfect, or before you're like letting people know about it, or maybe we should let people know about it because getting feedback from them is going to improve the product. Again, obviously this is all context contingent,
Yeah.
depends on what the business is, etc. But I'm curious in your experience helping people who are on the fence of how much effort and money to put into marketing. What are some things they can ask themselves to decide if they are ready for this?
Yeah. So I love this question, and I'll speak to it from my own personal experience because I am a solopreneur, a team of one. So I'll just kind of share what I've focused on to start. I think oftentimes people get caught up in the fact that like they need a website, or and it depends on, you know, are you a product based business, are you a service based business? But I think oftentimes people think they need all the things before they can ship the work. And I like to say that I'm a recovering perfectionist. Oftentimes in my corporate career, the feedback that I received was, you know, done is better than perfect. Just like get out 80% of it and test the MVP product, right? Like the most viable product, and let the market research come back and see what people are resonating with. So when I set out on my own as a solopreneur, that feedback never became more real. You really do have to ship the work. And what I'm focused on right now is like where I started was okay, I need to uncover like my vision, my values, and then what is the service offering that supports that, and get something initially out there for people to react to. And I knew who I wanted to serve. So I had like the fundamentals down. So I think the challenge people come up against is like getting those fundamentals, that heartbeat of the business, like I described, requires a lot of thoughtfulness. That requires you to really slow down and like lean into a lot of self-reflection and a lot of deeper questions rather than just throwing things up. But once you have those foundational elements, then I think that's time for experimentation and to test and learn. And candidly, from my own experience, like if you go on my website right now, I'm going through a rebrand of messaging. I used to call myself a communications coach and consultant when I first started off. And what I found through now enough market research over the past year is that with my target audience, communications is a little off-putting and intimidating, because that is, to me, I was always associated with communications in corporate. I was brand communications. I was on crisis communications team. I was on marketing communications. But that is not the language that my target audience is using. They're using marketing and brand messaging and core messaging and things like that. So all that to say, I would focus on having like a fundamental product that you could ship or a service, whatever that might look like, and now start collecting as much market research as possible and find the terminology and the language that your audience is using and what's resonating. And something that I did to start getting the word out, I literally just posted like a LinkedIn post, like after 3 months of being MIA on here, like I'm back, here's what I'm up to. And I got 3 leads from that one LinkedIn post. So honestly, like things don't need to be fancy, like just take messy action. And I'm telling myself that because sometimes you need the reminder, like just enjoy the process, enjoy the practice, and keep shipping the work, and you'll get clarity and the confidence will come. But like if you're waiting for the confidence, like you gotta just keep going. Like stop waiting for the feeling or the perfect time, because the feeling will come as you keep shipping things.
Yes. And the same thing for just confidence in general. Confidence is not a feeling, it's an action that will then lead to a feeling. How you mentioned posting on LinkedIn, but what are some other ways that folks can get more audience, feedback, market research, especially if they don't have much money?
Yeah. Well, Instagram is at your fingertips, and it has polls and places for people to ask questions and provide answers. And so you really don't need like a $50,000 focus group. Ask your followers who are already in your network what they want. I offered, when I was first starting off, I offered like a $10 Starbucks gift card to 10 different people that I could hop on the line with. And I reached out to them via direct messages in LinkedIn. So really there's a lot of inexpensive ways. And then as you do start to garner clients, like make sure that you have some sort of 360 feedback loop to be collecting the data, whether you're a product-based business or a service-based business. Like what that looks like for me is I have an onboarding intake form so that I understand where my clients are at point A before we work together, and then an offboarding form, like what was their transformation at point B when our work stopped together. And that really helps me also understand by asking, if I were to remove everything from what we worked on together, what would be the 1 to 2 things that you missed most? And that's where I get a ton of valuable feedback of like, the coaching calls are everything, right? Like in the 60 minutes, that's where clarity comes through and things like that. So just remember you don't have to conduct a fancy focus group. You literally have a focus group at your fingertips with Instagram, socials, all of that. Don't be afraid to direct message people and ask them directly. A lot of people are willing to help and share their knowledge, is like what I've learned. Like people are so inclined to help others and share valuable insights. So don't be afraid to ask and reach out.
Yes. Want to give a shout out to Catherine, who posted on our LinkedIn, great advice. Taking messy action is so hard. Trying to remember that everything doesn't need to be perfect. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad that resonated with you, Catherine. And last question about audience feedback. What about integrating, this is a more philosophical question, but like integrating what people say or what you're seeing in the market with your desire to lead them, right? Like this balance of, your product best and your brand best, but at the same time, it might be received in a different way. And they're telling you, actually, this is getting more into changing your product. So I don't know if that's not quite what you do, but I'm curious about once you get the feedback, the integration part of that into your strategy, whether it is the product strategy or the marketing strategy.
I think the beautiful thing about building a brand is like once people become attached to you and your values, like your vision itself shouldn't be changing all the time, right? So if you've built this loyalty into your brand, like people want to come on your journey with you. No one is upset with me from changing my name to a communications coach to a brand and marketing strategist, right? Like, it just is now more deeply resonating with the people that I want to be attracting in. And that's showing by like the prospects that are coming to me now. So I think getting hung up on, again, like everything needs to be perfect, and once I put out this language it can never change, and I can't change, and the brand can never change. Like, your brand evolves, your mission is literally put in place, so you know like who you're serving, what you want to do, how you want to do it right now to achieve that vision. But your mission changes, and I think a lot of people like mix up your vision and your mission. But your mission evolves. Your vision is this high level, big picture, doesn't really talk about what you do. It talks about why you're doing something at all. And so I think you've come to find that your customers and your clients come from a place of, I don't want to say forgiveness, because like they're just so at this point invested in you and connected to you and connected to your brand that they want to follow on the journey and the evolution of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And also no one cares about your brand and what you're doing as much as you care. They're just like, there's that. Somebody asked if these are being recorded. Yes. So we are simultaneously streaming on the Ladies Get Paid, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, and all of them will stay up there. Can you actually dig in just a little bit more into that difference between vision and mission? I thought that was really interesting. And then if you have some, if we want to talk about tactics like SEO, more like the logistical, now that we got the fundamentals, how do we spread the word in the most optimal, cheapest way possible? But vision and mission, define the difference between the two for folks again.
Yeah. So vision, think big picture. This is where you're going. And this isn't necessarily what you do. Or like a lot of people call it your niche, right? Your niche is not your vision. So your vision is where you want to ultimately head, where you're going. And this typically is like a 5 to 10 year out timeline. Your mission is what supports your vision. So think of it as literally a like 1 to 2 sentence strategy of what you're going to do to support that vision, to help bring that vision to life in some way, shape, or form. So your mission is the breakdown of who you're serving, what you're doing, and how you're doing it. That's what your mission should answer.
Fabulous. I know we're technically at time. Do you have a couple more minutes to stick around? This was so good. Okay. So any logistical stuff, what's worth investing in if you don't have much to invest in to begin with when it comes to any page services, like clearly I haven't done this, but like SEO optimization. This is what my partner does for our business, is making sure that we, WordPress, she's asking herself all of those questions. But if you're somebody like me who's just a dreamer, how do we get a little more business oriented and then decide if it's worth spending our precious resources on?
Yeah, I think so I actually lean more heavily into organic, which is like non-paid marketing efforts, but I believe in paid, but I believe in paid once you've done all the things we've talked about, like established your brand foundation, like you're starting to build that know, like, and trust factor, because paid kind of is like more in your face. You haven't received the invite. So on the organic side, it depends on how many resources you have. As a solopreneur, what I focused on was one platform, starting with LinkedIn. I mean, like, start small on a certain platform, get good at that platform, and then start to like repurpose content instead of creating original content for the next platform. Again, this depends on how strapped you truly are for resources, but get consistent, learn what's resonating on one platform before you start spreading yourself too thin, and really be strategic in the platform in which you're choosing based upon, again, going back to your target audience. Where are they hanging out? Especially for the purpose of what you're selling. So choose one platform. I know we all want to show up on multiple places. For SEO, this is not, I'll be candid, like my zone of genius, but when it came to my website, I did make sure that my website was SEO optimized with keywords, and you could do that by using a tool like SEMrush. I know there's multiple other tools out there, but that's the one I use, and you could dig in to figure out the volume around that keyword and the level of difficulty to rank for it. So you want to go after higher volume, lower level of difficulty. But as it relates to SEO, it does take a good amount of time before you start showing up or ranking higher in the search results. And so a tactic that I've personally have pulled as a lever is to get backlinks, meaning showing up in other places of places that already have established domain authority. So pitching yourself for like PR and earned opportunities. So, I've been in like Voyage LA and NASDAQ, and I'm on this, reaching out to the Ladies Get Paid audience. So pitching yourself for things like that, that is also free, and you're tapping others' existing network to create the visibility and brand awareness for yourself.
I'm glad that you used me as an example, because I was going to say this is a very meta experience. This is absolutely what folks should be doing. It's how I built my business.
Yeah.
It's how I always did marketing prior to my own business, was who can I partner with where it is a win-win. I'm providing content for them that they're looking for, but they're providing an audience that I don't have. Last quick question, maybe tools that are worth paying for to help make content easier. So if content's going to be part of your marketing strategy, like for example, you talked about repurposing. So like a transcription service, like what have you found to be worth spending just a little bit of money tools wise to make your marketing easier?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of free tools out there too. But for content management or project management, I like to use Airtable personally. But then there's a lot of tools like Planoly and Later and Monday and all of those tools out there. I have just pretty fundamental tools. Like I use Slack, free version for communication with my clients. I use for my website build, I use Squarespace. That was fairly inexpensive. SEO, SEMrush is a pricier tool, so just be mindful of that. But there are a lot of free tools out there. Flowdesk for email marketing. I think that's everything that comes to top of mind for me right now.
And I'll add to that Canva.
Oh yes, Canva. Oh my gosh, I use that daily. Yeah, love Canva.
And then if you are creating videos that you want to edit yourself, Descript is awesome. Descript. Okay. Not recommend them enough. Need to get an affiliate link. Because we're the best. We're the best. You are the best. Thank you, Lindsey. This is super helpful. Tell folks where they can find you, follow you, and most importantly, pay you. Also, before you answer, just want to let those who are watching not on the Ladies Get Paid LinkedIn come on over, because Lindsey, after this call or after this video, after this chat, she's going to be posting those links there, and you can connect with her directly. But yeah, tell us how we can continue the conversation with you.
Of course. So you could find me on LinkedIn, Lindsey Julian. You can find me on Instagram. It's at Lindsey Julian _. And you could check out my work and how to work with me. Just caveat, I am going through a mini rebrand, lindseyjulian.com. But yeah, you can find me there. Reach out. Happy to have a complimentary connect call. and see if we're a good fit.
Awesome. Any final words of wisdom that you want to leave folks with?
Take that messy action. Just keep showing up and be mindful of how you want to feel throughout your days.
Love it. It seemed like that resonated. Also, I guess 'tis the season. We're both wearing brown. So
Yes.
It's fall. Although folks who might be watching this after the fact, happy day, whatever it is on your day. Come join Ladies Get Paid, ladiesgetpaid.com/subscribe. If you join our newsletter, you will get invites to upcoming events like these LinkedIn lives that I do, but also other things like a job seeker support group. We've got an amazing salary negotiation video course relaunch. So we don't want you to miss those updates, plus always good tips in the newsletter. Also, Ladies Get Paid. Catherine says, impressed, your Christmas tree is already up. This is we're dating your video, right? It's evergreen, but now everyone will know when we film this. Not even in December. So Ladies Get Paid on all social channels. You can find me on Instagram at Claire Gets Paid, though the best place to connect with me is also on LinkedIn, Claire Wasserman. Thank you all so very much, and most especially to Lindsey. Now go get paid. See y'all next time. Bye.